Took him an entire episode to charge his shield up, but calm down now. Bro's literally exhausted after doing one attack. This guy's useless. He stood around all last episode, did nothing, deals with one Overblot, and just... Dumbledore would get involved in Harry Potter. At least he was throwing hands for a bit, you know? Fuck. I'll give him this. He was willing to die for his students. It took him an episode to get the courage to do it, but he got there in the end. Ah, really in our Black Veiled Brides era. Instead of tears, we got the ink running down our face. I see what you're doing, Hot Topic. Bro's fucking hustling. He's scooting along. It's like he's got a fucking plug up his ass, and he's like, I'm trying to get here. But he's getting there. One way or another through the sheer will of determination. Imagine having your big-ass villain fucking lose to a wooden sword. That's really gotta shatter your ego, right? Hey, if you got this sort of video, make sure you drop a like, share your support, subscribe. If you're new around here, of course, Patreon's where you can catch my full live reactions to all these episodes and more, which also helps fund the channel and videos just like the one you're watching. So, what better way to wrap up Season 1 of Twisted Wonderland than my boy putting oyster sauce in the pastries? That's honestly hilarious. Now, to be honest, am I surprised that Riddle gets to walk away without being thrown in jail? Not really. We are going to a villain school. And I think out of all the characters to have an excuse, he has probably one of the best ones. It is a mechanic in the world that you can go so crazy that you may try to kill your classmates, and you can kind of pass all the blame onto that. Plus the fact that despite being an absolute dick and bullying and, you know, abusing people mentally, he was just following the rules. So a change of heart probably gets him out of that scot-free, if we're being real. Though, I mean, his Black Veiled Brides era was quite something to witness, and to be honest, I really appreciate what they did, both for a pure monkey brain enjoyment level, but also character writing. And what I mean is, you had one hell of a fight. And the fights, as minimal as they've been in this show, have been engaging. I still think about that cave one that we had when we were trying to find the 7 dwarves, and that thing attacked us in the cave. Such a cool fight. This one surpassed it without much struggle. I mean, despite the thing being entirely 3D, I still think this is probably in the top 10 designs I've seen this year. The Queen of Hearts as this was just so cool to watch, and I could have watched an entire show focused on monster designs like this. It's almost like the spiritual successor to Madoka Magica, if we're being real. Though I will admit, I laughed my ass off when I saw my boy Yu shuffling. Like, I mean, he kept probably the proper posture and foot placement and stuff, but it looks silly as hell. But you can't deny a man with a wooden sword somehow broke the Queen of Hearts' head. I mean, it's kind of ironic when you think about it. Off with your heads is the whole thing. Only one who actually lost their heads was the Queen of Hearts, so suck on that bitch. And I guess, you know, at the end of the day, I really thought it was going to be Trey who would be like the sole savior of this whole thing, but I think it makes more sense to have you, because we still don't know what's going to happen in seasons 2 and 3, which are the ones that are at least being made. There's rumors that they're going to go longer, but in terms of funding, the show's been funded for 3 seasons at least, right? So a 24-episode anime, right? And depending on how they develop this, according to game players, every arc is a different you, right? To a different dormitory. And it can't work if it's the same you. It's a whole can of worms. People argue in my comment section. But you also have to remember that as an anime, it's your job to make it enjoyable for the anime watchers, right? And I think it makes way more sense to have 3 seasons focused on this you, and maybe you rearrange, maybe you rewrite some things, but having 24 episodes focused on this guy completely makes way more sense than every 8 episodes I have to get introduced to a new MC who has a very limited amount of runtime to develop. Because while I do think they did as much as they can with this guy, he's the farthest thing from one of the best MCs I've seen this year. Like, he would be among one of my bottom picks. And that's not me insulting the show, it's just there's not a lot for him to work with. I think he went out on a high, and I think the moment in the cave showing his leadership, and without him, certain characters would never work together, was good. But if you give me another 16 episodes focusing on him, I don't give a fuck if he transfers schools or something. Just, there's ways to write it. I don't know. People are debating how they're going to do this. Only time will tell. But if this is all I got with him, it's satisfying enough that I don't think he's wasted. I just think he's very, very underdeveloped if this is all I really got with him. You know what I mean? The big star was Riddle. And thankfully, the Twisted Wonderland fans are a lot less idiotic, I'll put it nicely, than a lot of fandoms that I'm used to. Because if I ever criticize someone as much as I criticize Riddle, people will be like, you think you can just switch your tune? And now I'm consistent. Trauma never excuses, it explains. I've said that from the beginning. And also, I explained at the start of this video why I think his get out of jail free card's better than most people, and you see legitimate change after this whole battle, right? At the end of the day, his character arc was the best written thing in this show. Most of them were fair, like, the whole season was based around Riddle's story, so everyone else had kind of surface level stories and personalities, but they were enjoyable enough to be serviceable. This man was the star attraction of this entire story. And someone finally seeing the light rather than, you know, thinking about Mother like, well, Mother's the best. And then he starts realizing, wait, Mother's actually kind of a bitch. I actually was scared of Mother. She made me hate things. And in fact, maybe we reached through the door and we realized what we had in front of us all along. And I think the best written part of his entire character here is actually the fact that he can't completely change overnight. So when he sees that there is a white rose, he's a little fuming, but he fixes it himself. Rather than punishing someone who missed a spot, I'll correct it. Now, at the end of the day, rules are important. Rules are always going to remain. But at the end of the day, he's also realizing he can't have a stick up his ass the entire time. And that's some really good progress. And I think the fact that rather than him just being like, I'm happy now, everything's carefree. I'm not saying some people can't be like that after they remove their trauma, but I think it's way more realistic that he's still so used to the way he's always done things that at the end of the day, he's basically saying like, okay, it's okay. Like, I think the best example is probably this one right here. So they've always had these after the credits, like little chibi keychain gag things. I haven't liked most of them, if I'm being real. I think they're cute. Like, I'm not mad they existed, but I skipped most of them. This one I actually quite enjoyed because it shows him being like, hey, you can only stay at your seat 15 minutes after lunchtime. And he's like, you know what, guys? Stay as long as you want. And what happened? Basically, at minute 17, he almost had an aneurysm. So they obviously were like, we're just going to leave. So he still has a long way to go, but he's not abusive anymore. And that's the big thing. The fact that you're seeing Riddle struggle, but not be abusive. He's holding himself accountable, and he's legitimately making changes. This moment is the key moment that defined where he was going to go after his childhood. He was dragged away by Mother. He convinced himself that Mother was correct, and he never went with his friends. And his friends never really tried to pull him away. Hell, when Mother would come to bitch them out at the fucking pastry shop, you know, he's a kid. I don't really blame him. I don't blame him for not saving his life. But yeah, over the course of the years, there's many things that Trey and them could have done that they didn't, right? At the end of the day, trauma is a bitch. Trauma explains a lot of why people grow up to be who they are, but trauma will never excuse. And once you realize that you can't hold on to your trauma to excuse your shitty behavior, you have the opportunity to make amends with people you've wronged, but most importantly, change your life so you're not going to be a miserable piece of shit for your entire life. I think trauma is a very complex subject, and I think shows like this or Fruits Basket do a really good job to showcase that you shouldn't put someone down because they had trauma, but it does get to a point where if they use that as a shield to deflect from their shitty behavior, it's up to you, if you do care about that person, to call them out on it, as painful and hard as it can be to do so. And I think the show did a great job. I think Riddle's story was great. As a whole, Twisted Wonderland was a good first season. That's how I'd rate it overall. But you can let me know what you thought down below. Drop a like, share your support, subscribe if you're new around. Of course, Patreon's where you can catch my full live reactions to all this and more. If there's demand, we will cover season 2 when it comes out, but we'll see how it goes. But also, I love to give video shout-outs to my patrons because they make these videos possible. As today, we got Oreo, Jack, Alexandra Schulman, Naraku, Bodosis, King Taz, and we also have the Unseen Truth. So I appreciate the support. Please take care. You all have a good one.